Ladies and gentlemen, our third bout of the evening remains under kickboxing rules, and it is set for 3 2-minute rounds in the lightweight division. Introducing first, finding out the Dynamic Mortgage Concepts red corner, please welcome Chris DeLuca.
Fight 3 of 12, fight fans. I know I got it right that time because I'm repeating what Big Mo said. Mr. Chris DeLuca making his way to the cage right now for this, a 150-pound kickboxing fight. Mr. DeLuca, the elder at 30 years old, the shorter at 5'9". He has the experience advantage, albeit a 0-1 record. Robin, give us the breakdown on Richardson.
Yeah, Richardson's a young kid, and he comes from FusBoxe Sambo. And Sambo, for people who have studied it or seen it, it's a Russian martial art that blends really wrestling with submissions and with striking. He also trains in kickboxing as well under the same banner. But it's so beautiful to see, this incredibly elegant Russian art form like Sambo find its way out here into Colorado and Wyoming. It's a wonderful thing.
A wonderful thing indeed, and making his way to the cage with the sword.
He will not be using
Mr.
that.
DeLuca.
He will not be using the sword.
Not be using that this evening in the cage, anyway.
Yeah, these high-altitude martial arts students, you see them in great shape. You don't get the feeling that they're going to end up coming out and representing these gyms if they're not in extraordinary shape and ready. So DeLuca came up, a wrestler, a high-end wrestler, and he wants to fight MMA. So he figured if he were to fight MMA right now, of course, he would take his person down, take his guy down, and start elbowing and punching him. If he chooses to put himself into a kickboxing match, that is not possible.
Yep.
So it will force him to work on the other elements of his game and play outside of his instincts. I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant for these young wrestlers or these young strikers or whatever it is that you came up in, force yourself to do the opposite and not lean on your greatest strengths. It will force growth. Smart.
Absolutely.
He did have one kickboxing fight. I believe he lost a decision, but he said he loved the experience. And he was asking me about, the difference between your first fight and your second. And I said, for me, I don't know about you, JR, but for me, the second fight was scarier in the lead up because you knew what you were in for. You know what fighting is. You don't actually know what it is until you've done it. And I think
true.
Anyone who will do it will tell you that. But once you step into the ring or cage, it's easier because it's familiar now. But that's probably different for everyone. How about you?
Yeah, familiarity definitely bred an ease of moving into the ring the second time.
And his opponent, fighting out of the nutrition company of Cheyenne Blue Corner, please welcome Nehemiah Richardson.
Mr. Nehemiah Richardson making his way to the cage now. As you mentioned, coming from a Sambo gym, but I happen to know the gym where he comes from, and while Sambo will be what they sort of advertise and talk about a lot, they do everything there.
Yes.
Boxing, kickboxing, judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, MMA, Sambo itself. Michael Sullivan, the founder of their gym, a world-known practitioner in the art of Sambo.
I got to speak to Mr. Sullivan, and that's exactly what we talked about. Coming from a base of Sambo, which is in and of itself a blend of many different approaches.
Basically is MMA.
Yeah, which is why then when you learn to subspecialize in some things and then reblend them by starting with a Sambo mentality and add specialists in wrestling and jiu-jitsu and then go back to that blended style. It's a really, really cool way to approach combat, and it's also really cool to have Coach out in this area of the world and to represent that wonderful art of Sambo. I got the great fortune to commentate some World Championship Sambo in St. Petersburg, Russia.
Oh, how fun.
About 5 or 6 years ago. And man, the pride the Russians have for that art form, as well they should, It was a wonderful thing. I actually got to commentate, JR, 13 different martial arts over 18 days. It's called the World Combat Games. It was the greatest experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, this kickboxing bout is brought to you by Red Lion Hotels. Let's meet the fighters. First, fighting out the Dynamic Mortgage Concepts red corner from Longmeadow, Massachusetts, representing high altitude martial arts, Chris DeLuca. And his opponent, fighting out of the Nutrition Company of Cheyenne blue corner, from Arvada, Colorado, representing Sambo One Training Center, Nehemiah Richardson.
You can see that Richardson's feeling the pressure, but he's facing it. You know, with fear, what do? You run away, or do you want to walk towards it? That's what every one of these fighters will do tonight, is walk towards the fear.
He literally is a fighter, so.
That's right. All the best things in life are on the other side of fear.
DeLuca wearing the pink gloves, Richardson wearing the white gloves. Referee Tom Johnson making his first appearance here this evening.
Both guys grew up athletes. You know, you see DeLuca looked down in his corner, immediately yelled, "Eyes on him."
Huh.
Remember, DeLuca grew up in the sport of American wrestling, and now he's being asked to ignore all of those instincts.
Boy, you can really see the wrestling stance of DeLuca.
He's very, very, very explosive. And that sounds like a compliment, and it is, but it's not exclusively a compliment. Explosivity, as we talked about earlier, burns some of that energy, that limited energy that humans have.
Richardson doing a nice job working the kicks downstairs. I was going to say, let's see if he alters it and brings it upstairs. He does exactly that. Again, speaks to his level of coaching.
Excellent stuff. Richardson's adapting exactly how you'd want. Look how long he's playing his weapons. See that long jab? And that's the answer from the
Trying to stay out of the way of the power of DeLuca, and shows us exactly why he doesn't want to be on the receiving end of that.
And so DeLuca made a really good so the instinct to grab that leg was there, but it was not. It was outside of the rules to pick the leg, have him fall, and punch him on the way down. But I don't know if he's.
Well, it looks like the referee gave him a count, so.
Yeah, I mean, single leg to a falling punch is not inside of the rules, but you have to operate with what's there. And I mean that for Richardson. You can't complain or be distracted by it. You simply get it to work.
Well, you talked about the explosiveness of DeLuca. He's showing that. What I'd like to see a little more from DeLuca is some combinations.
Yes.
He's winding up and throwing one or two with supreme power. They're going to have an impact if they hit, but he can't rely on that exclusively.
Again, DeLuca, it was impossible for him to ignore his instincts there. And again, he grabbed the leg, and again, he fired his man back. When he becomes a mixed martial artist, which is his goal, all of this will make sense.
That'll be awesome.
But tonight, we need him to use 2 fists, 2 legs, and 2 knees.
Has to work within the rule set. Yes, sir. Richardson looking very composed in his corner. Let's take a look at the replay here. We talked about DeLuca winding up, throwing power punches. He did it in a combination series there. Most of his attacks have been limited to 1 or 2 strikes.
The reason you see this, what we call, sometimes we'll say somebody has power. People don't have power, they create power. And he creates it from his connection to the mat. And that same connection is the way he would wrestle, the way he would drive in from the ground. See there, grabs the single as he punches, and look. Oh. And lands the right hand as he's falling back.
All right, corner men out of the cage. Let's get that door locked, and away we'll go with round 2 action. Richardson looking very composed.
DeLuca too. Remember, his head was low as he was firing before. Now that
Little stumble there. I wonder if he hurt his foot on that kick.
And you
because it was blocked by the knee of Richardson.
And what did Richardson do? Immediately kicked it. Sometimes you see that
Good
little
vision.
wobble.
Yeah.
Very good. That wobble is a dead foot. It happens from a reaction of a impact to a nerve that's on the outside of the calf muscle. And if you're Richardson, you definitely want to kick that nerve a couple more times.
Would be the common peroneal nerve there.
Yes, sir.
And a flurry by DeLuca going to work. Had Richardson backed into the cage. Richardson did a nice job of keeping himself from taking too much damage there. See how much energy that took away from DeLuca and how Richardson uses that knowledge.
Both young fighters are doing exactly what you would want them to do based on their attributes and their skill sets. They're literally fighting exactly how you'd want both guys to fight. And that's why, it's a perfect matchup, and it'll unfold how it will unfold. DeLuca is going to come in explosively, launching from the ground like that. And Richardson will move and stick the jab and use the kicking weapons like that.
DeLuca stopped to listen to the referee and looked at him, and referee actually said, hey, get in the fight.
I mean, DeLuca's a hell of an athlete. For a guy.
Oh, big power landing. That's what he's been wanting to do with those wind-up shots. Oh, you see the wobbly legs of Richardson. His feet are not completely underneath him right now.
No, but I like the way he's moving forward and he's doing what he should be doing if he's been hit hard, which is use the long jab, although there he moved a little. If he moves in close, he's giving DeLuca what he wants.
And he's got to be sure to keep his hands up on the way out with the way that DeLuca is winging those punches. One of the best punches of the fight happened for DeLuca as Richardson was backing away. So both these guys able to effect their game plan upon the other, and could possibly come down to conditioning for the third round.
And they're different kinds of athletes. We will generalize the anaerobic athlete, the physical muscular athlete that you see in DeLuca. But, he recovers too. Sprint, recover. That's the game of the slightly more anaerobic athlete. So, their conditionings at its root are different as well.
This is that big flurry of punches, the DeLuca. This was by far his best series of the fight.
The first right of that combination was the very best of the lot, which is what allowed him to feel comfortable throwing more. But there are different types of energy athletes too, You look at Richardson, he's more aerobic. And if you look at DeLuca, he's a little more of an anaerobic athlete. That's also why he's fighting the way, fighting in bursts. It suits the anaerobic athlete.
Looking to work the Superman punch off the opening, and again, it's a trap and a sweep for DeLuca.
If it's a skill you've got and you're not being penalized for it, and in that case, he shouldn't be penalized for it. It's perfectly executed.
Oh, nice check there by DeLuca.
Did you hear that when Richardson threw the low kick, his corner literally just said, thank you, because that's what they want him to do.
That's what they want him to do. Take away some of that explosivity by getting rid of some of the power in those legs.
Yeah, and it's also the closest target, right? The closest target is his lower leg. Your longest weapon is your low kick. So it's sitting there, and you can do. That actually went by him, it looked like. It didn't look like that last shot hit him.
And the referee saw that, so he just rolled with a slip.
But we're longer, we want to stay further if you're Richardson, so you attack the closest target, which is the calf.
Both these guys starting to feel it, and I mean in a good way. They're both smiling a little bit here. So like, hey, bring it. Let's finish it out for the fans. Let's finish it out for ourselves. And DeLuca getting the better of it there. Richardson's rocked. If DeLuca can flurry, he might find an end to this fight.
The punches are plentiful, but they're slow. There's one. And one.
Richardson keeps himself in it, though.
DeLuca's also just taking such a long path from himself to the chin. Those big, wide punches are just such long trajectories.
Yeah. When it comes from mid-thigh all the way.
That's right. But he landed a lot of them, and he's winning this fight.
All right, it is dig deep time, gentlemen.
If you're Richardson, all straight shots, except for the low kick. Just straight shots, straight punches, straight kicks up the middle, and low kicks. And if you're DeLuca, what you're doing is working.
Stick with it. 10 seconds to go, and that's exactly what DeLuca needed. Give those judges something special to say. Oh, and this could be, oh my goodness, that was 1 or 2 punches away from being stopped. And a great show of sportsmanship there. I'll try to render you unconscious, and then I'll give you a hug when I don't make it happen.
People love that, and I don't know if they quite really connect to it, but they love it. They get it. But these two humans just shared an experience that no one else on earth shared.
Yep.
You know, they were pushed to the limits. They found out things about themselves. These punches that you're going to see DeLuca land, look at that exploding in looks very much like one would explode in to do a takedown because that was where he grew up.
Yep.
Now these punches are all coming long distances wide. Big, that's a rough one.
Big power. It works when it finds its target.
Yep. And you said from the hip, he is literally throwing from his hip bone, but it's working, and he has his man hurt. If he looks back at this, DeLuca, that's basically a fastball pitch.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man.
Throwing softballs.
And good for you, Richardson. Man, Nehemiah Richardson, you showed a ton of grit and heart, and he's still trying to fight here. Look, he's trying to fire back, and he's being buzzed inside here.
Bink. To quote you from earlier.
Sir. I trademarked that, by the way.
Okay.
But you've got free reign on it all night.
Excellent.
Look at DeLuca here, just unloading. And Richardson is covering up. He was firing in there. Having fun.
DeLuca in his corner, carrying his boken, his training sword, across his traps right now. Warrior spirit,
Yes,
for
sir.
certain.
DeLuca's having the feeling that one has when they just got to do this.
Yes, indeed.
Yep. And High Altitude is pointing out to us that they are 2-0 so far tonight, and I think they have 6 more fighters on the card. But there are other really, really high-end gyms here that they're going to be facing too, and they've faced tough fighters already.
Here's Big Mo.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 full rounds, we go to your judges' scorecard for the official decision. All 3 judges scored about 30 to 26, declaring your winner by unanimous decision, Chris DeLuca.
Congratulations to High Altitude Martial Arts and Chris DeLuca. He's going to get post-fight interview with Bailey Winters.
DeLuca requested his sword.
All right, I'm back here with your winner, Chris DeLuca. This was your first win tonight on this historic card for Sparta. How do you feel after getting your hand raised?
I feel great. You know, it was a real short notice fight. I fought about a month ago, or maybe a little more. Fought one of their opponents, tough guy. Lost the decision. I got a real short notice fight. For this time around, it's about a week out. I think we agreed to it 6 days out. And, you know, I knew it was a high-profile card. We're going to have a hell of a main event tonight. I knew Robin Black was in the house. And, I mean, what more could you want to, you know, come out to beautiful Cheyenne and put on a performance for Sparta?
You put on a great performance tonight. Like you said, you heard about this fight maybe like a week ago. Did that add to your nerves? How'd you get your game plan together? What were you feeling leading up to this?
Man, I got a great corner. I got the Salisbury brothers right here. And I train with them over at High Altitude. And, I mean, the whole crew over there, Professor Christian, Professor Cody, the whole school, they got the whole fight team over there. And, you know, when you train with the best in the world, you're a little bit more comfortable taking fights.
Definitely so. Tell us about the sword you got here with you.
Man, you know what? About the night before we got the call for the event, we were just sitting around, actually, and I was kicking it with this sword. My buddy said it was a funny picture. We took it. I didn't have a promo picture yet, so I put it out with the boken right here. It's a wooden training sword, and we kind of been running for it for the very brief fight camp.
All right. Well, you took a fight a month ago. Short notice fight tonight. What's next for you?
Man, I would love to do MMA with Sparta. You know, I mean, that's really the game plan there. I've got a pretty solid background and some grappling experience, and trying to build my striking experience here, and I'd like to take it to the next level.
Congratulations on a great fight. We look forward to seeing you back at some MMA. Good work.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.
kind of him to reference me.